Hello again, hockey fans. Are you ready to brave the wild with me, your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan? Brave the Wild is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps, and I thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today. The sun is shining. It is April. It's spring. It's pretty out, and the Minnesota Wild have been pretty of late. 4-0 in their last 4 games. Is it real? The Wild actually peaking at the right time? Could it actually finally happen? And maybe this team actually does something legit here. Well, yeah, I'll definitely have some takes on that. 4 games to review, 4 games to preview. Definitely going to be kind of just looking around at the league and potential how this all can come together and a possible playoff run. Obviously, this is one of those kind of crazy matchups. We've had them in the past. We've had them many times. The Wild had the number 2 record in all of hockey and couldn't get out of the first round, and neither could the Blackhawks, who had the number 1 record in hockey. And then the 8th seed Nashville Predators went all the way to the Stanley Cup final, only to lose to the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's kind of like college basketball, where you go to or college hockey sometimes, but college basketball, I swear. This miracle team goes all the way, and then there's Duke, Kentucky, UConn waiting for them. It's like, oh, come on. That's kind of what it's like. So I would have loved to see Nashville win. That would have been cool. The Wild will be playing Nashville. We'll be going south definitely here for a bit and then come back home against Anaheim just like last year. A final game of the regular season hosting the Anaheim Ducks. It took that game for the Wild to clinch the playoffs. Minnesota Wild already clinched as of April 2nd against Vancouver. A 5-2 victory. That's how much better the Wild are this season versus last, because the Wild just basically scraped by at the last second into the postseason. An impressive and fun game, and I was there, and it was a nice experience. It was really a really nice one, and it's hard to believe it's been almost a year. It's insanely hard to believe it's been right about a year since the last game. It's just funny how it's Anaheim again. Okay, all right, and XL Energy. That was the last time it was the XL Energy Center in a regular season game. You had that dramatic back and forth with Vegas that ended up being going from like the Wild are going to win this series to I guess not. That was bullcrap. But let's get back to where we need to be for the time being. The Minnesota Wild defeat the Vancouver Canucks, and that was a wonderful feeling. And yes, okay, it was like, okay, we finally get our heads out of our ass against maybe the worst team in the league right now, because they're just, they're out of it and this and that. Obviously, former Wild players all over the place. Unfortunately, none of them factoring in the scoring. None of them. So that's kind of sad at the end of the day. None of them had a single point. I was just trying to make sure, let's see, did somebody squeeze in an assist? No, they didn't. Rossi's kind of been up and down since he's been there. Obviously, he missed some time for a while there. Liam Ogren's at least kind of a factor. He's like a bottom 6 guy, but, he's a factor. He's at least he's in the lineup all the time versus here where it's like in, out, in, out, in, out. And then it's like he'd be, as they say, gripping a stick too hard, that type of thing, trying so hard to do something. And it just wouldn't happen for the poor guy, like 20-some games with no points. It's like, how does that even happen to a guy with as much talent as Liam Ogren? But there's also some frustration as to who the Wild could have taken in the same draft. Oh, there's all kinds of... There's always kind of like you're looking back at what could have been. Oh, there always is that, isn't there? I'm going to look at it real quick. I remember just kind of like grabbing my hair like, oh man, yeah, the Wild could have gotten Jimmy Snuggerud instead of Liam Ogren. So Snuggerud didn't really play for the St. Louis Blues until like the end of last season, but still, he already looks like a legit player in the league. The Wild could have had Jimmy Snuggerud instead of Liam Ogren, and we would have been totally fine, obviously, with Daniil Yurov anyway. That's who the Wild would have taken to the 24th pick, but at 19 in the 2022 draft, the Wild could have taken Jimmy Snuggerud. I know hindsight is 2020, but a lot of us knew Jimmy Snuggerud was probably going to be something. So it's like, you look back at that. But then again, what if you were the Columbus Blue Jackets with David Jiricek, number 6 overall? Or if you're the Wild giving up a ton of assets. Okay, let's get off of that. I can't deal with it. But it happens, right? It sure does. Where am I? I'm starting to turn into somebody. I don't want to even talk about it. But a nice 5-2 victory for the Minnesota Wild in a game that, you figured, I don't know. The Wild actually trailed in this game. Do you realize that? Yeah, the Wild actually trailed at this one. It was a bit of a back and forth in that first period and such, but eventually the Minnesota Wild would pull away and get the job done. But not the prettiest game you ever saw. That's for darn sure. It was like, really? It was this complicated against this team? Kinda. It kinda was. Though luckily Matt Boldy would say, no, this is not gonna. Yeah, this is after Boldy scored his 39th goal of the season. He would get his 40th, and Kirill Kaprizov would get his 40th, and Quinn Hughes eventually would get his 67th assist in this game, and amazing numbers and all of that. We'll get to a couple of amazing numbers for defensemen. A lot of you kind of know it's just that staggering to think about. One of them tying a Ryan Suter's full season record for the Wild, and the amount of games it took to get there. Yeah. Anyhow, Ryan Hartman getting multiple goals as well. Ryan Hartman getting to his milestone of 20th goal of the season with the empty netter. But Kirill Kaprizov and Boldy both getting their 40th goal of the season. Boldy actually got to 40 before Kaprizov, but, well, we all know what happened with Kaprizov against Detroit. Yes, sir. So Kaprizov would regain the goal lead on the team, which is wonderful. 43 goals and 42 for Matt Boldy after this week. 87 points for Kaprizov in 76 games. 83 points for Boldy. Career high for him, getting to the 80-point milestone, the 40-goal milestone. Matt Boldy, yes, we can finally say he's a star, and even potentially a superstar. I'm always afraid to say superstar. Kaprizov, obviously, he's been a superstar off and on, and has been Quinn Hughes. Holy cow. Quinn Hughes. Yeah. Wow. But a fun day. Wild clinch the playoffs. Both star players get their 40th goal, and da-da-da-da-da. And even Ryan Hartman gets his 20th. Then we get to a couple of nooners in the weekend, and it's like, oh boy, watch it. They're gonna drop at least one of these two. Maybe they'll squeeze past in one of them, and they'll lose the other one like 4-1 or something. No, it was the opposite. At least, we squeezed past with a win against Detroit, sure, but we'd beat Ottawa 4-1. Beautiful. We'd lead Detroit 4-1 as well, thinking everything's fine, cruising and moving. Ain't no stopping us now, as the old 70s song goes. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Ottawa Senators hosting the Minnesota Wild reeked of a loss, just because Ottawa's playing well, kind of playing well, and well, they're fighting for a playoff berth and such. They're more of a desperate, trying to make the postseason, and they're an improving team, and I like Ottawa, though unfortunately there might be a little bit of extra going on, like Brady Tkachuk probably kind of sort of seems to want his way out of there, unfortunately. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Ottawa. I don't know. I mean, I'm a big U.S. Patriot person and everything, if you know me. But I don't know. I don't really dislike Canadian teams, but whatever. It is what it is. Ottawa, yep. I mean, I have no problem with the Ottawa Senators at all. It'd be nice to see them succeed, actually. I was rooting for them over the Anaheim Ducks, let me tell you that. I was, all those years ago, in the Daniel Alfredson days, the best Ottawa Senator for a long time there. Kirill Kaprizov would add an assist. But Hartman would have 2 more goals. So Hartman, strong week this week, of course. Quinn Hughes just keeps chipping away at the assists, and good for him. Yeah, a 4-1 win, solid victory. Crazy. Like the Wild just came out to play, and the Ottawa Senators kind of didn't. It was kind of like a reciprocal of what the Wild have been in the past, and kind of like last year at this time, when it's like, okay, is this team going to make the playoffs or not? Like, come on, what the hell? Really? I get it, Minnesota's got the better record, and, like in this case, but I mean, it'd be like whoever, like some other team, like, I can't even think, like a Dallas or something. Of course, Dallas, but that's different because it's a division thing. It'd be like, I can't think, like a Toronto or something, if they have like this better record, whatever. It's like, fine, I guess, but geez, come on. Like, can't you show up? We need to make the postseason. This other team's already in, and they just skated right past us. And that must be what Ottawa fans are thinking, or were thinking on Saturday in that early afternoon game. Yeah, I can only imagine. But a 4-1 victory for the Minnesota Wild, and inching our way closer to 100 points finally. So kind of hacking away at that 100-point number. It's a nice milestone. It ain't what it used to be. Like back in the day, of course, like there used to always be ties where you just get 1 point and such. Yep, you just get 1 point or you'd lose in overtime, that type of thing, which happened way too often to the North Stars and the Wild in the early days. But like reaching that 100-point milestone just felt like a bigger deal back in the day. Like, ooh, that's a Stanley Cup contender type of team. Now it's like, yeah, it could be, but not necessarily. It might be. It could be a very strong, a very tough road to get there. And in this year, it could be an extremely tough road. But if you get past the first 2 rounds, I mean, you got something going. If you get past the first 2 rounds, I think the Wild are in really good shape. Let's just put it that way. And I would like to get to that take in a couple minutes here as we go forward. But, yeah, 104 or 102 points on the season eventually after beating the Detroit Red Wings and the Seattle Kraken. The Wild would get to the 100-point mark against the Detroit Red Wings, a team that used to torture the Wild back in the day. Or the Wild would put in a great effort, get 42 shots on net, and score a goal or 0 goals and end up losing, which used to happen all the time in the Josh Harding days. A great backup goaltender who became starting material before MS took over, unfortunately. He could have been our starting goalie for many years, I think. That's how good Josh Harding appeared to be heading. He was on his way to becoming a great goaltender, it looked like. It took a while, but oftentimes it does. I mean, with Ballstead, it's taken a little bit, of course. But, yeah, those infamous games, those 2-1, 2-0, 1-0 losses, where the Wild would just pepper the Detroit goaltender, whoever it was, and Harding would, face, actually, we wouldn't pepper him. That's the problem. Like, Harding would stop, 42 shots, and the Wild would get, maybe, 25 shots on net, wouldn't muster a whole lot of offense, and the Wild would lose. It was always disappointing. Harding would keep us in it, and then the Wild would lose. Sorry. Detroit game, though, I mean, of course, Detroit would score first, and you think, okay, well, we'll see what happens. I don't know. We're not going to sweep this weekend, are we? And then it looked like we're absolutely going to sweep it. Boldy would get his 41st, Kaprizov. Beautiful play by Tarasenko. Obviously, you love that goal. Tarasenko, it looked like he had a goal he was stopped. It looked like he had something going, and the puck kind of came out. Jake Middleton was able to swing it back over to Tarasenko and just launch it into the net on a one-timer. That was a beautiful shot. 22nd goal of the season. I don't know if I didn't get enough sleep last night or what my problem is. Kirill Kaprizov would eventually get his second goal of the year, and Brock Faber 51st assist, and had everybody like, oh my God, there it is. Brock Faber tied Ryan Suter for the most points by a defenseman in a regular season, a full season, 51 points. I thought Suter had 54 at one point, but I guess it was just 51. That's the most the Wild defenseman has ever had. So Brock Faber is on the verge of passing that. And then you have Quinn Hughes doing it in 47 games. I mean, Quinn Hughes doing the same thing in 47 games. Because obviously he was with Vancouver to start the season, Faber took 78, 77 actually officially. Quinn Hughes, it was, I believe, 45 games. He would reach the 51-point mark in 45 games. And he's in the 70s. Quinn Hughes is in the 70s in points, which is absolutely ridiculous. Quinn Hughes is, 74 points, which, if he was on Minnesota the whole season, well, there you go. There's your record right there. So, as long as Quinn Hughes is on the Wild next year, and he should be, yes, because he's still under contract. I don't think the Wild will be trading him away necessarily, unless we absolutely have to, because he doesn't want to stay, this and that. But I got a good feeling the Minnesota Wild do re-sign Mr. Quinn Hughes to an extension and keep him around for many, many years to come. It's going to cost a lot of money, but thankfully the salary cap has gone up since then. But it's just crazy to think that that's kind of like one of the big topic marks of the show. Ryan Suter, all those years he was here, and you had all your hopes up with Ryan Suter, Zach Parise, and everything. It's like you just look at the teams back then at the time, and we had our hopes up, and then you look at this team, this roster, and the production of this team and this roster and this lineup. It's like you can't even, It's like they're not from the same planet. You get 2 40-goal scorers. They might have 45 goals by the end of the year. Who knows what's going to happen in the next couple of games here. 2, not 1, 2. That team, one single season, what's his name? Eric Stahl got to 43. That was awesome. We appreciated it very much. But it was like one guy doing it, and somehow it just felt empty to me. It just did. As good as Eric Stahl was, and how much I appreciated him, and I really liked Eric Stahl a lot. But something about all of that felt empty. It just did. And it kind of like how Bill Guerin years ago was like, something about the culture here is just not working, and we need to change it. At the time, I know you can say whatever you want about that, about what happened after that. Things didn't work out also spectacularly since that time. But this particular team, you even have Wiley veteran Tarasenko 22 goals. I believe he's at 23 now after the Seattle game. Just crazy. Yeah, 23 goals, 45 points. He's having a nice little renaissance. But the funny part is, see, you look at Tarasenko's numbers. That was basically Parise after he came back from the back injury. Wasn't it, though? Like, I think he got to 60 one of those years, which was nice. But it's like 23 to 27-ish goals. You know, was he this star? Was he? God bless that Parise, but was he really a star player? And then Suter, it's just, I don't know. So there was a lot more going on than 51 points with Ryan Suter, apparently. A lot of us would learn the hard way. Not long after that, and just kind of off and on, you'd get little hints like, it's kind of, I don't know, something's going on. Why is he on the ice so much all the time? And why is he gassed at the end of the game? And why isn't anything being done about it? Oh, because he's controlling everything. And why is that allowed? Why is this happening? It was really weird. There was a lot of selfish bullcrap going on behind the scenes with Ryan Suter and some of the other players on the team, and even Parise a little bit. They had too much power, basically. Where now you have guys like Kaprizov, Boldy, that are, well, they're star players, but they're humble about it. Like Kaprizov had no idea about any, 10 goals in 9 games versus Detroit when he'd get the hat trick. He had no idea about that. He's like, oh, I didn't know, but that's cool. That's nice. I mean, I'm not really worried about that as long as we win. So that's basically what he said after the game. So pretty cool. Boldy, you can just tell he's pretty much the same way. Faber, yep. You don't sense any, you don't sense that he's any locker room lawyer. You don't feel that from Quinn Hughes at all. Joel Eriksson, of course not. So it's like, yeah. Tarasenko used to be a star player for the St. Louis Blues. And he's been pretty good for the Minnesota Wild for the most part. It's been a nice renaissance. But, I mean, it's kind of like, he's kind of like the Parise, though. Post, back surgery, all that stuff, where Parise was like, shelved for the longest time out with that back surgery situation. And even before that, where the back issue was going on, but he was playing through it because he didn't really realize how serious it was, maybe. Or who knows, didn't realize that absolutely needed surgery no matter what. And, yeah. He would come back and it's like, 23 to 27 goals. Okay, yeah, that's nice. There you go, Zach. And then he'd be like, getting older. Like, Tarasenko's getting a little bit older, obviously. He's not as old as you think. He's like 33, 34. But, yeah, that's kind of what was going on with Parise for a while there. Just kind of hanging on. And eventually it's like he has to be a third or fourth line player, right? And then the Wild finally, or Bill Guerin anyway, finally made the final move, basically, about all of that. Where do we go from here, boys and girls? Where do we go from here? Statistically, the Wild goaltending looks promising going into the postseason, but on paper, on paper they're both around, 2.6 goals against. So that's encouraging, but consistency and such, obviously, there's more to a goaltender than just the goals against average. It looks nice. It's like at least they're not at 3.3 or something. That's when you'd be like, oh boy, But Wild do have a chance to do something special in this postseason, I think. Oh no, I just closed it. Oh God, don't you love when you do stupid things like that? Okay, that was a lot easier than I thought. Sorry, I'm just babbling here. But a 5-4 victory by the Minnesota Wild over the Detroit Red Wings in a game where, Wild fell behind 1-0. Next thing you know, the Wild would score the next 4 goals. Kaprizov would have 2 of them, which felt so good. Then Detroit came roaring back, including Patrick Kane tying it up. But then he'd have a costly penalty late. It felt like an overtime game, but it wasn't. This was like right before the end of regulation, basically, where Kaprizov would get his hat trick officially. Pardon me. Choking to death here, and I don't mean to be doing that. No, I'm kidding. But, losing my mind here, and I apologize. Yes, like I was saying, Patrick Kane would tie it up and then have the costly penalty. It's crazy to think Patrick Kane only 15 goals on the year. He's been wonderful. Obviously, he's got a number of assists and everything. It's weird to think of Patrick Kane only at 15 goals, but again, an older player, a much older player, kind of like like Parise later on. Basically, that's kind of where he's at, minus the back injury / surgery and such. But again, the costly penalty, kind of like what the hell was that? Like, it was like what, like a tripping call? And he tripped Quinn Hughes, and it was just kind of like that was dumb. What are you doing? Looked like Ryan White out there one time when he tripped a player and then was like, oh, come on. He looked at the ref and put his hands up like, Yeah, and Ryan White never played another game for the Minnesota Wild after that, if I remember correctly. He was scratched, and that was it, forever. Never played another game for the Wild. It was one of the lamest trade acquisitions in the history of the franchise, actually. He was terrible. I don't think Bruce Boudreau played him another second on the ice, and I wouldn't either. It was like, okay, enough. This guy's done nothing for us, and he's making an idiot of himself, too. Anyhow, Kaprizov would score on the power play for his 43rd goal of the year. A beauty, moving the puck around Matt Boldy, a cross-ice type of a pass, and Kaprizov with one of those releases on the shot that reminds you of a certain other Russian player that plays in Washington. That's what it looked like. Oh, yeah. The one with 900 goals? That one. Yeah. That's what it looked like. It looked a lot like Ovechkin. Ovi, as people call him. It was an Ovechkin-like release, and 43rd goal of the season. Beautiful. And this is a year where a lot of people have been kind of questioning Kaprizov a bit, like, why has he been kind of in and out and this and that. And it's crazy, and he still has 43 goals. Still has 43 goals despite some of the droughts and the meh play out there where it's like, oh, am I the star? Am I not the star? I don't know. That type of thing because of the, since the arrival of Quinn Hughes, which has some people baffled. But if Kaprizov and Boldy look like this going into the postseason, kind of like last year when they emerged in the postseason, and it looked like, well, they were the talk of the league after the first few games of that Vegas series. They were the talk of the league, if you can remember correctly. Putting on NHL Network, like they were the top. They're top of the league. It was extremely exciting. They were the talk of the league. Talk, T-A-L-K of the league. And it was awesome. It's like, oh my God, this is really cool. Two superstars emerging here in the postseason. And you get that going, then you add Quinn Hughes, you add better goaltending than what we had last year. Oh man, Faber is way better this year than last year, at least statistically. No, he is way better last year than, way better this year than last year. He's going to have like record point numbers. He's going to have record point numbers without like if you don't count Quinn Hughes numbers, depending on how the season finishes, with the Wild as a defenseman. It's just crazy. You have two guys doing it though at the same time. Two goal scorers that could be in the 40s. You have a healthy Joel Eriksson going in the playoffs. You have a healthy Jonas Brodin going into the playoffs. You have a healthy, oh Lord, I gotta be careful. Jared Spurgeon going into the, yes, but things are looking good. That's all. You just hope and pray that this can all come to a crescendo in a good way. That's just all I gotta say. The Wild get past Detroit. No jinxing allowed. Just don't do it. I'm knocking on wood, okay? Please don't hate me, okay? Okay, Seattle. Yes, the Wild beat Seattle. That was a formality a bit in a lot of ways. Seattle's kind of like Vancouver. Not as bad, though, but like a team that's, past the postseason type of thing. They're in their exhibition mode, you could say. Like when you play Blades of Steel, you have the options to play a tournament or an exhibition. This would be an exhibition. It's obviously not tournament time, but I mean, say regular season instead of exhibition. But that's pretty much what this is at this stage for the Seattle Kraken. Just kind of finishing up the regular season, putting up whatever numbers they can, earning their money, this and that, and hoping for some of them, that are free agents to get a new contract. Freddie Gaudreau is on Seattle. He's been there for a bit, and God bless him. Capo Caco trying to reemerge after a disappointing start to his career with the New York Rangers. That's a tough place to play, no matter how you crack it. Capo Caco, 38 points. What happened? He was actually worse this year than last. Dang it. That's kind of too bad. Yeah, and that's what I thought, though. It's like you're not really hearing about him at all. Freddie Gaudreau, 22 points. Yeah, 22 points this year. He had 37 last season. Wishing Freddie the best, though. Nothing against old Freddie. God bless him. Joey Decord is one of those guys. Like they look at him like, thank God we have Joey Decord, and that's kind of what it's like. Even though they have some solid players in Seattle, but they're not on the verge of making any type of run. I don't think. I really don't. This was another game where it wasn't like a pretty start to it or anything, but it was kind of like a Detroit game that didn't allow a huge comeback by the Detroit Red Wings, because this team is not fighting for the postseason. That's the difference. The Wild would power on off after a little back and forth with Seattle, where Boldy would get his 42nd goal of the year. Foligno would get his 8th. Again, that was around the time of the fight. Not long after that, things would change. Tarasenko would get his 23rd. Marcus Johansson's actually got 47 points on the year, despite the droughts. That's how good he was earlier in the season. And players glowing about him, including the guy that Jesper Wallstedt, who every couple of seconds goes, he's a really nice player, and I really like what he does out there. He's very strong. He can be spectacular. No. He was definitely complimenting Joel Eriksson Ek. Really a big fan of what Joel Eriksson Ek can do out there. Fellow Swede and everything. Wallstedt's got a personality. I really like him. I don't know how you can't, basically, when you hear him talk. And it is funny that every couple of minutes, that's how he says, It's kind of entertaining. Sounds like a cartoon almost. They're like a cartoon character. But a solid win. The Wild pull away, win all 4 games. And can we please peak at the right time? Can this be real? Please. Please, 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 please. After all we've been through here with the Wild, here come the playoffs, and so-and-so broke his ankle. Oh, so-and-so's out with an upper body injury. Oh, and this guy's, shoot, he's done too, It's just like, it was every, I don't want to say it. I really don't want to say it. But like how Russo would write that in the paper or say that on like KFAN when he'd go on PA or Barrero, where it's like every bleeping year the Wild's going to the playoffs and important. I don't want to say it. You know what I'm getting at. Important, yeah. Players missing from the lineup. Yeah, it would be depressing and sad for whatever reason. It's just don't happen. Okay, you got 4 more games. Get through these 4 games. Hopefully get home ice, I guess, even though the Wild's history with home ice in the postseason is awful. It's never worked out. But why not? Why not be the year where the Wild overcome that? Overcome that, and then overcome a couple other hurdles at the same time, like teams like Dallas and Colorado. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be wonderful? Because as we wrap up this first segment here, well, slowly but surely, we'll get there. I'm telling you, the Wild get past. This is the take. I know you're going to think, okay, whatever. Is it a big take? Is it not a big take? I'm not saying it to be like to think I'm some kind of special person here by saying this, but it's just the way I see it, and a lot of you might agree. Others might be rolling their eyes. If this team gets past somehow, some way, Dallas and Colorado, they will go to the Cup final, and I don't really see them losing in the Cup final if they get there. I don't. I absolutely see the Wild winning the Western Conference if they somehow can get past Dallas and Colorado. I know back in 2003, that team got past Colorado and Vancouver, who were spectacular teams at the time, incredibly high, numbers, great records. And then you run into the stinking Ducks, who actually had an inferior record, and that's when the whole home ice thing, in the postseason, home ice advantage for the series started. That's where all that curse started. Well, maybe you overcome that doggone curse once and for all. That was the beginning of the curse, was that same playoff run. Like, oh my God, we won our first 2 playoff series in franchise history? Is this Minnesota, or is this like the Florida something, or Florida Marlins or something, Is this the Florida Marlins, winning the World Series like the first time they make the playoffs? The Florida Panthers going to the Stanley Cup final like right away early in their run. You could go on all day. The Miami Heat going to the finals. The Magic really early in that franchise history going to the NBA finals. The Orlando Magic. Is this Florida or Minnesota? Holy crap, we're actually 2-0 in the postseason. I can't believe it. And now the Ducks, there's just the Ducks, the 7th seed, home ice and everything. We're going to the final. New Jersey, I don't know about that, but maybe Lemaire knows something and can pull off a miracle in the final. But let's get there first. We didn't score for 3 games and scored 1 goal in the 4th. That's all you need to know about that series. So that was when all that nonsense started. Home ice, it is what it is. I think the Wild getting home ice versus Dallas would be a good thing. There's something about Dallas. It's awful. Going to Dallas really sucks. It's not fun. It's not. It's not fun at all. But potentially, if you can overcome that frustration of the Dallas Stars, we're 0-2 versus them in the postseason historically, like in series. We've lost both series in 6 games. It's not like the Wild weren't competitive necessarily, but they just flat lost both of those series. they hung in there. One of them, they were down, 3-1. They stayed alive and then lost game 6. So it was stuff like that. But Suter actually had an overtime winning goal in that early series back in 2016, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was nice to win that series, or win that game, but yeah, ultimately, no, the Wild did not win that series. So, somehow, some way, yeah, the Wild could actually win the Stanley Cup this year. They actually could, but the likelihood of it is pretty slim, unfortunately, in terms of just getting past Colorado and Dallas. But if you can, yeah, it's a possibility. It'd be an amazing feat. If you can get past them, then I think you've earned the right to be considered a legitimate Stanley Cup contender and a real good chance to actually win the entire thing. Buffalo would be no pushover in the final, which is weird to imagine. Like, who on the planet would talk about a Minnesota-Buffalo Stanley Cup final? Maybe somebody like Joey of Brave the Wild might bring that up. Wild history versus Buffalo, holy crap. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there, if we get there at some point. We'll get there one of these days. But what was I going to say? Lone Wolf. That's Timberwolves Explosion. The Mike McDonough Award winner for this episode could be a guy that's going to take the name of the award someday. Obviously, you wait till much later, probably. Kirill Kaprizov, yep, with that hat trick and looking spectacular throughout the week. Kirill Kaprizov's going to bring home the Mike McDonough Award for this episode. Just getting it done versus Detroit, and it's great history versus them. Tarasenko deserves a ton of credit as well this week in Boldy. Amazing, just amazing. The James Shepard Memorial, I don't really feel any James Shepard Memorial right now. I don't feel like dumping on anyone, even though some players might not be scoring like a year off as such. They've kind of quieted down. They've gone into droughts. I don't really want to pass out that demerit at this stage. I think the Wild had a wonderful week, and you hope and pray that can continue. You really do. With that, we'll take a quick break and come back and preview the upcoming games. And we are back here on Brave the Wild, segment number 2. Sorry if that segment was long, but kind of exciting. I know it's exciting. It feels good going into this potential, into this postseason and all of that. We'll preview the 4 games. I'll try not to babble too much, except for the first one. Who knows? But we'll see. It's kind of a prequel to things. If you can guess who it is, you probably know. Also, DraftKings right now, the deal has ended for the time being, so we hope DraftKings comes back. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It's just that time expired, and we'll see if the big boys at the Hockey Podcast Network can bring things back. I don't even know if I mentioned THPN at the beginning of the episode, so I am really sorry for that. Brave the Wild is on THPN. That is the Hockey Podcast Network. So my apologies if I forgot to say that at the beginning of the episode. So instead of DraftKings, we'll just say Hockey Podcast Network, THPN. So, again, I think I left it out of the intro. I feel really bad. I hope that's not going to be a huge problem. But really proud to be a part of the network with Kyle and Dylan and Kyle coming in out of Vancouver, British Columbia. So I was not meaning to do that. That was not intentional. I deeply apologize. Anyhow, the Minnesota Wild will visit Dallas. Yes, visit Dallas. Pivotal game if you want some home ice here. Dallas is home ice right now. And currently, 2 more points, 104 points on the season in American Airlines Center. 8 p.m. start in Dallas, Texas, as Mr. Dan Barrera would say. 46, 20, and 12 on the season. The Wild 45, 21, and 12 on the season. So you can do this very simple math there. It's like a game difference. It is a game difference. Injury report, Zach Bogosian did not play in April 7th, versus the Kraken day today. So yes, he's banged up a little bit, but thankfully you have some other depth like Petrie and such, other veterans, and potential young guys like a Damon Hunt. On the Dallas Stars side of things, you'll see some familiar names, at least one here. Tyler Seguin, injured reserve. Apparently he's finally skating, but no, that's the other guy. That's Jamie Benn. I keep getting them mixed up. I'm fired. He's out for the remainder of the season, entirely of the playoffs. So Sagan, as of it started, he'd been missing time since the beginning of December, but it was announced on Feb 27. He is kaput. Tyler Sagan, but of course, a very old player now at this stage. Radak Faksa, who's been a heck of a he's been a pain in the butt at times out there against the Wild. Injured reserve. He won't be an option versus the Flames on April 7th, but is nearing a return to action. So this was as of April 7th. He's been out since mid-Feb. Urari. Rupe Hintz. I think I'm finally saying it correctly. He's giving us the hints that he's returning, possibly, so we'll see what happens. He's been out since March the 10th. But it's been reported, well, he's been out since March the 6th, but it was reported on March 10th that he will not undergo, or is not required to undergo surgery, and is hoping to return before the playoffs. He's the guy who could get a hat trick on you. Oh, yeah. Sam Steele probably won't get a hat trick, but look at me saying that. Out late March, they said on March 31st. Timeline to return to lineup is yet to be determined. Expected to suit up in the short term. Not expected to suit up in the short term. Nathan Bastian, out as of March 28th. Glenn Gullikson said on Monday, April 6th, that Bastian will be sidelined for 3 to 4 weeks. All right, sounds good. That was from the Dallas Morning News, where supposedly Dan Barreiro used to work. No, I don't know. Michael Bunting, out since March 29th, but as of March 31st, Bunting is then expected to return to the lineup in the near future. So a number of players out, and the Stars had been struggling a bit, but they had that weird back and forth game with the Calgary Flames, and of course they won. It looked like Calgary was going to beat them. Weren't they up like 3-1? It's like, yes, they're going to beat the Stars. This is so cool. And they didn't. Thanks, Calgary. But what do you expect? What do you expect? The Calgary Flames are going to beat the Stars? Well, back in the day, they used to. They used to beat the Stars all the time when they were in Minnesota, and they started doing that to the Wild instead. Anyhow, that. And then, whatever. Didn't Calgary have they had a great series versus the Stars and beat them, actually. It was crazy. It was a game 7 that went to overtime that went on forever. I think Onger stopped 80 shots or something. It was like insane. I don't even understand how that could happen. It's crazy. The Wild and the Stars are actually remarkably close in a number of statistics. In goals, the Wild are 10th, the Stars are 11th. Assists, the Wild are 11th, the Stars are 7th. Power play, the Wild are 4th, the Stars are 2nd. Goals against, the Wild are 4th, the Stars are 2nd. Penalty kill, the Wild are 17th. The North Stars, no, just kidding. They used to be number 1 all the time when they were here the last couple of years, and then the Wild took that over for a while. Not so much lately, but better than last year and stuff. Oh my God, the Wild had the worst penalty kill and the most penalty minutes. It was ridiculous, for lack of a different word that starts with an R. Penalty kill is 11th for the Stars. Penalty minutes, the Wild are 29th. The 29th most, so that's good. Very few penalty minutes. The Stars have a bit more. They have a bit more. They're 18th. The series, Minnesota actually leads the season series versus the Dallas Stars, and if somehow you win this one, well, it doesn't mean a whole lot going to the playoffs. We could sweep the Stars, and then here come the playoffs, and they can sweep us. So, it is what it is. Didn't Colorado own the Wild before the playoff series way back in 2003? Didn't they just own us? And then in 2014, I think they completely owned us. It's like, we're going to lose. It'll probably be a 5-game series. And then the Wild they beat them. It was amazing. Great series in both cases with very dramatic endings in Game 7 on the road. One of them saw Patrick Waugh retire right after that. That was crazy. But 5-2 win in Dallas way back in October when the Wild were sucking. I mean, they were sucking back in October. December, the Wild were surging. They were surgical. A 5-2 victory in Grand Casino, and then a 2-1 overtime victory recently, March 21st. That was fun. Got a lot of people excited there. Like, okay, maybe we can beat these guys. I don't know. Well, they don't own us anymore. That's the good part. There was a stretch that went on for about 20-some years. The Wild couldn't win in Dallas. The last win at the time was before 9/11, the real 9/11. So that's how crazy it was. I think the Wild was at 2023, I think it was. I forget exactly the year when the Wild finally ended that drought. Before 9/11. What? Yeah. You know how long ago 9/11 was? Yeah, this year will be the 25th anniversary. This year. That's how long ago it was. Okay, anyhow, the Stars. Yeah, the Stars. I know, we just love them. What did I screw up now? As for the team, I gotta keep moving. Sorry if I'm going on and on here. The Stars, well, the leading scorer is Jason Robertson. Yep, 41 goals on the year, so they have two 40-goal scorers as well. But welcome to the Dallas Stars. This isn't the first time. Wyatt Johnson has 43 goals. Wyatt Johnson has 43 goals, 82 total points. Jason Robertson at 91 points. Whew. Mikko Heiskanen, obviously a stud as well, 63 points on the season. Matt Duchene, getting older, missed some time, but still solid, 40 points. Okay. Jimmy Benn is 56 games and 35 points, obviously very much aged over the years. Minnesota ties, of course, Jake Ottinger. I believe he's from Neil's hometown, if I remember correctly. Yep, Neil and Nate Dogg Leasing, who you see in the with the two hosts there, me, myself, and him, and God rest his soul. 32-12 on the season. 32 and 12 is Ottinger with 2.61 goals against average and 3 shutouts. Casey DeSmith has been a wonderful backup in Dallas. 14-8 on the season, 2.34 goals against average. The shutouts, hell, he has 1. So I would say the goalie matchup favors Dallas a little bit here, a little bit. I mean, I'm not going to dump on the guys we have. It's just the inconsistency has been frustrating at times, but when they're good, they're great, our two guys. So this is kind of like a little prequel as to what's going to happen. It should be fun to watch. I don't imagine the Wild or the Stars necessarily trying to, show any secrets or anything in this game. I could expect both teams to play very hard in the game, trying to prove a little bit of something without overdoing it, and survive the game without injuries. Survive the game without injuries as best possible. Obviously, hockey, you have to play hard. Otherwise, there's a stronger possibility you're going to get hurt. If you're trying too hard to not get hurt, you probably will get hurt. That's what's unfortunately true about the game of hockey. I don't know what's wrong with this damn thing. It's been acting up. I don't know what just happened here, but everything is messed up again. I don't know how that keeps happening, but we'll quickly move on to the Nashville Predators if humanly possible. This is just, I don't know, it's giving me a hell of a time today, and I don't know why. It's pissing me off, actually. It really is. So, Nashville Predators, this would be, so tonight's game. That was Dallas. Nashville Predators, they're fighting for a playoff position to get in the wild card. 37, 31, and 10 on the season. This will be 4 p.m. in Nashville on Saturday. Bridgestone Arena. Interesting one there. Staros has been decent in the goal. Well, not really. 89% save percentage, 3.11 goals against average, but the play in front of him hasn't been all that great. You could definitely say that. Nashville is 19th in goals, 11th on the power play, 26th in goals against. Yeah, what the heck? Penalty kill is 5th, though. I don't understand that. The goaltending's been lousy, but the penalty kill's been good. Okay. They're right in the middle of the league at 15th in penalty minutes. Minnesota leads the season series 2-1. The Wild beat the Nashville Predators when they just started to play a little better at the beginning of November in overtime. Nashville then beat the Wild in overtime in Grand Castino. Both of these were in Grand Castino right before Christmas. That was a frustrating loss, but we got a point. And then another overtime game. 6-5, the Wild win in Bridgestone Arena on Feb the 4th. So will this game probably go to overtime? I'm guessing it probably will. It probably will. Nashville's 3-2 in their last 5. The Wild have won 4 in a row. Quickly. Philip Forsberg, 73 points on the season. Ryan O'Reilly having an awesome renaissance season. 72 points. That's why the Predators are hanging in there. 72 points. Nice year by Ryan O'Reilly. Would have been nice if the Wild could have acquired him, but I don't know. They must not have been willing to part with him without a lot, I suppose, even though he's an older player now. 25 goals, 47 assists to lead the team in assists anyway. Philip Forsberg's got 38 goals. Eric Haula with 37 points. Remember him with the Wild years ago. And the Vegas Golden Knights and the Boston Bruins and the New Jersey Devils. And I do believe he was on the Carolina Hurricanes as well. And he was on everybody else. But you get the idea. Jonathan Marchessault, I'm sure they miss him in Vegas. He's not been all so great in Nashville. 31 points in 59 games, 12 goals on the season. Winnable game. I didn't even pick who the Wild who was gonna win tonight in Dallas. I want to believe the Wild are gonna win. Oh, man, I might be getting too hopeful here about everything. Oh boy, Why do I have a feeling Dallas is going to tie the series? Yeah, I think the Stars win. I think the Stars win 3-2. Boldy will score in the game, but the Stars win 3-2 in a close, tight matchup, and it'll show what kind of a tough series it's going to be. So I think the season series is 2-2. Nashville Predators. This could go the opposite way, but I think the Wild win in overtime versus Nashville, a 4-3 victory, with the game-winning goal going to. The game-winning goal going to Joel Eriksson Ek. Joel Eriksson Ek will score the game-winning goal for the Minnesota Wild versus the Nashville Predators. The Wild will win it. So it'll be 4 overtime games, and the Wild win the season series 3-1. It could go the opposite way, where the Wild win a close one versus Dallas 3-2 or something like that. Maybe it goes to OT, and maybe Nashville gets the all-important victory to hang on. But right now, I'm going to pick the Nashville Predators to win the game, unfortunately. So that's where I'm standing on this one. I wish I knew what the heck is wrong with this. It's so frustrating. But St. Louis Blues will be next. They've been a pain in the neck forever. It'll be a back-to-back. This is Monday, and then the Wild will then host the Ducks. So we'll go from St. Louis to St. Paul. So from one state to the other. Isn't that cute? St. Louis Blues are out. They are 33, 32, and 12. They are out. It'll be an Enterprise Center. Hoffer's been pretty good on the year. He's been strong. 2.58 goals against average, 91 save percentage to keep the Blues afloat during the course of the season, off and on. Season series is tied 1-1. Weird. This is a division team, isn't it? And we're only playing them 3 times, but okay. Wild won 5-0 in the season opener. Like, wow, St. Louis is going to be good this year. And the Wild beat them 5-0. Wow. And everything just got weird. Like, wow, the Wild are surprising. Then the Wild were awful forever after that. And then the Blues just stayed awful. And then the Wild got better and better and better and better. And then they acquired Quinn Hughes, and they got insanely better. Did the Wild. The Blues beat the Wild 3-1 on March 1st when the swoon began. Around that time, it was already kind of happening. So the rubber match here, where somebody will actually win the season series. The Blues are 2-3 in their last 5. St. Louis is 29th in goals. Power play is 28th. Goals against 15th. Penalty kill 27th. Penalty minutes 23rd. I'm going to backtrack real quick, and I hate doing this, but let's look at the, what do they call them? The Nashville Predators injury report real quick. Just Nick Hague, former Golden Knight. Day-to-day, Hague did not play on April 7th versus the Ducks, so good for Nashville staying healthy. Good for them. So that's cool. Good for Nashville staying healthy. That's actually very nice. Let's keep going if I can here. Look at St. Louis's injury report. And keep this train moving here. Dang it. I thought I was looking at him. Okay, Corey Krug, yeah, that's an important guy. He's the only one, but injured reserve ankle. He's probably not going to play again, I'm guessing. Probably just let him rest and move on with the season here. This thing is acting freaking weird. Why is this line here? I don't get it. Sometimes I don't understand technology. They get weird with stuff, and I don't like it at all, but it's annoying the hell out of me. I know some updates don't help. They make things harder. Robert Thomas is leading the Blues in scoring in 59 games, 57 points, very productive. 22 goals, actually leading the team. Pavel Buchnevich, rolls right off your tongue. 44 points in 76 games. The numbers aren't all that great. Snuggerud, it's not like he's dominating, but I'd love to have him on the Wild, though, versus Liam Ogren. But then again, I guess it is what it is. Maybe the Wild could have had a different chip in the Quinn Hughes trade. But now you hope it's not Yurov, right? So I guess whatever. We'll see what happens. Snuggerud with 17 goals, 26 assists for 43 points for the Blues. The Minnesota Wild hopefully can get past this one. Nick Bukestad, yep, he's been there. He was there, yep. So we'll get off of that for now. Blues aren't really playing for anything. I got a feeling the Wild win this one. I think the Wild bring the points up a little higher. Who knows, though? Maybe the Blues just have a nice, strong finish to the year. Joel Hoffer's got 6 shutouts on the year. That's a lot. Who knows? And then Binnington's been kind of a mental case, but Hoffer's definitely taken over in St. Louis. But there's not a whole lot of scoring there. That's the problem. They're just not scoring. Great goaltending, but not scoring. The final score in this one is going to be something along the likes of like 3-2. I know hockey, you get these scores like 3-2. It's not like basketball where it could be anywhere. I think the Wild win 3-2 versus the Blues. I think. Yeah, I think the Wild go 3-1 this week. I think it's a 3-2 victory over the St. Louis Blues. Jared Spurgeon's going to score late and help the Wild get the victory versus the St. Louis Blues. Otherwise, the Anaheim Ducks to wrap up the season in St. Paul, Minnesota. I wish I knew what the devil is going on here. Doesn't make any effing sense. That's so weird. Freaking thing. I'm trying not to curse my head off here. It's pissing me off. Anaheim Ducks. These is the last game, so I can close this nonsense out and reopen it for whatever. Whew. Anaheim Ducks injury report. Let's go. Peter Mrazek, wow, the goaltender, feels like he's been around forever, but underwent hip surgery. He's been out since the beginning of January. He had hip surgery on Feb 17th and will be out for the remainder of the season. Ross Johnston, out since St. Patty's and will be out a month at that time, so he could be coming back pretty soon. In time for the playoffs. Yes, the Ducks are going to make the playoffs, most likely. Cutter Gother, I think they are already in, actually. Gother did not play versus the Predators on April 7th. Okay. He's been out since the end of March, basically. Radko, the truck accessory pro. Goodis, he's the truck guy. Okay, it is Radko. I apologize, I'm weird. He's been out since April 1st, and the Ducks said on April 7th that Goodis remains without a clear recovery timeline, but is getting closer every day, according to head coach Joel Quenneville. Remember him, per Zach Kavanaugh of the Sporting Tribune. Fun. So we'll see what happens with the Clucks. This will be in Axel Energy Center. I got a feeling this team could be fighting for their playoff lives, and you know what? Maybe it'll be kind of like a reciprocal of last year, where they squeezed past the Wild in overtime or something like that. It could be. You won't be seeing old goaltenders, legendary goaltenders, shaking hands with player after player after player. It won't be happening this year. It was a very memorable moment last year. It was exciting. Gauthier is actually leading the club in scoring, but he's out, unfortunately. 65 points for him. 38 goals. He's been wonderful. Leo Carlson, 64 points for the Ducks. 27 goals. He's like the leading current goal scorer and everything else. Jacob Trouba's been on the Ducks too. Alex Killorn. I remember him last year with the Ducks. He had some good moments. The former Tampa Bay Lightning. So I got a feeling this is going to be one of those funny ones where I think the Ducks win in overtime. I got a feeling. The season series. Let's close this damn thing. Stupid ass thing. It's making me angry just looking at it. It really is. Okay, I already read the injury report. The Minnesota Wild lead the season series 2-0. 2-0 win on November 15th and a 5-2 win on Jan 2nd. That felt good. I just got a feeling the Ducks are going to win this in overtime, but the Wild do squeak out a point. So the Wild will wind up with like 105, 107, something like that on the year. Very strong finish to the year. The Ducks are 10th in goals. I don't know if I read this already. 10th in goals. 4th on the power play. 4th. 4th in goals against. Penalty kill 17. I'm looking at the wrong team. The Ducks are 14th in goals. 26th on the power play. I didn't think they were that good. No. 31st in goals against. 22nd in penalty kill. And they have the 5th most penalty minutes. So they're not a very disciplined team. I'm kind of surprised they're even in the postseason, honestly. But we'll see what happens. Somehow I think they survive, though, and win this in overtime. That's what I'm guessing. But the Wild at least get 5 out of a possible 8 points this week. And I'm guessing the Wild wind up on the road. But we'll see what happens. Maybe the Wild win all 4 and then do claim home ice advantage, because I don't think the Stars will be perfect. But I just got a sneaky feeling that the Wild are going to wind up on the road again. But it'll be an awesome series and a winnable series, despite the fact the Dallas Stars are extremely good. Let's not forget, the Wild are extremely good. Number one center or not, the Wild are extremely good. And Joel Eriksson Ek is a damn good center, regardless. It's just he's actually freaking healthy. Some years he wasn't even healthy going into the playoffs. You're bleeped. It's like he's playing with a broken ankle. It's like, okay, good luck with that, or a broken foot. Good luck with that. You're not going to win anything, in that situation. So, yeah, he attempted to play, and it's like, okay, never mind, that didn't work. So, yeah, like maybe it's not broken, but it was. So with that, yes, Wild finished with something like 105 to 107, even 108 or 9 points, something like that. But I got a feeling they're going to wind up on the road in the first round. Right now, you're behind 2, so the Stars do have the advantage at the moment, so we'll see where that takes place starting tonight. With that, we'll take a quick break and return for fan interaction. And we are back here on Brave the Wild, segment number 3, fan interaction segment. At Brave the Wild, and when you put hashtag BTWMN, that makes a big difference. Hashtag BTWMN, you'll always notice that when I tweet it out. So at Brave the Wild. Mokov, starting things off. Mokov 65, great to hear from you. So he's batting first here. I have serious doubts the Wild get past Dallas. I just don't think they have the scoring power yet. I can understand that. I got a feeling I'm going in a little more positive, but then again, I mean, I don't blame you. Just a couple of minutes ago, basically, like even last week, it's like, there's no way, they're going to beat Dallas, which is how it felt. But the Wild do have scorers. It's just, can they get it done? Can they simply get it done and then, stop the other scorers with Dallas? That's the thing. I mean, easier said than done for sure. But, the Wild do have at least 2 40-goal scorers. And the whole playoff Hartman thing, I think that's overrated. But if he plays anything like he did this past week, the Wild have a chance at something for sure. So, no, I can understand the doubts coming in. I absolutely can. Completely. I was saying hat trick for Kaprizov, who responded. Derek was saying, yep. So Derek responded here before the lightning round. Apparently Kaprizov and Boldy got the message shortly after the Athletic article appeared, talking about how they had been passengers. Yes, yep. And me and Derek definitely were talking about that a bit before our show kind of got interrupted by teams not working too good. But yeah, they've been passengers a little bit after the Olympic break. With both of them pulling the trigger and lighting the lamp, this team has a chance to go beyond one and done. I agree. Yep. Like I was saying, the last year, the Boldy and Kaprizov Boldy were the talk of the league for the first part of, in the first round last year, before, basically Gustav Nyquist, got called for that stupid offsides. They were the talk of the league. And if they can be anything like that, holy cow. Yeah, the Wild have a chance. They do. So Derek did put out a poll at Crease Assist, at Crease and Assist. It's hashtag Crease Assist or Crease Podcast. God, I'll never get it right. He says, what are your expectations for Charlie Stramel next season? So yes, Charlie Stramel did sign his entry-level contract, 3-year entry-level contract. So that's very exciting. Unfortunately, he will not play at all because of the broken ankle unless the Wild go to the Stanley Cup Finals or something. But we'll see. The four choices are top 6 on Minnesota Wild, bottom 6 on Minnesota Wild, top 6 on Iowa Wild, traded in deal top center. So I'll save that. I won't let the cat out of the bag as to who's leading. But I did pick one of the leading ones, bottom 6 on Minnesota Wild. That's what I picked, at least for next year. And hopefully he can develop into a top 6. But I think Charlie Stramel will make the Minnesota Wild. I think the Wild will keep him, at least this year. And, well, he's been loyal to us. But, of course, loyalty doesn't always mean everything, I suppose. Look at Marco Rossi. It depends on who the Wild can acquire, I suppose. Because, Quinn Hughes, hello. But I like Charlie Stramel. He emerged to be one of the best players in all of college hockey from a guy that looked like he was a complete bust just 2 years ago. A complete bust. Like his second year, his sophomore year was worse than his freshman year. And that was saying a lot. It was terrible. And then he goes to Michigan State, and it's like, oh, wow, look at this guy. Whoa, that looks like a first-round pick. And he does. I think he's at least a bottom 6 for Minnesota. Minnesota, not Iowa. Obviously, top 6 if he's in Iowa, maybe for 5 seconds. I could imagine him dominating in Iowa if he does go there. And if he doesn't, that would be very disappointing, actually. But because he's been seasoned a bit in college hockey. He's not 18, 19 like some of those guys down there. So, Charlie, yeah, looking forward to that. What he can do. Yep, and there it was. Charlie, Minnesota Wild had signed Charlie Stramel. So, Stramel, I guess. Thoughts on, I was saying thoughts on the sudden surge for the Minnesota Wild before the playoffs, Stephen Miller jumps on board here, batting second like Chuck Knobloch. The best sign we've seen post-trade deadline, this team might be figuring it out. Yep, and that's really cool. Yep, Steve Miller. Brand Steve, who's also a part of the Crease Assist podcast now. At least he's certainly been, and he's done a great job. So I like what Steve has done. I like what Steve has done on that show. He's done a good job. Some really good hockey takes. And yes, I think the team looks like they are figuring it out. Morty, all right, great to hear from you, says, will no Joe, that would be Marcus Johansson, ever be out of the lineup, say for Brink? Where does Nick Foligno fit into this lineup? Ooh, yeah, he hasn't been there lately. What goalie rotation do you expect to see in the playoffs? Is Viking Gustafsson Nyberg the best name on the Wild roster ever? Oh yeah, that guy. Viking Gustafsson Nyberg. That is a fascinating name for sure. I think that is the best name on the Wild roster ever, yes. Viking Gustafsson Nyberg. That just rolls right off your tongue, doesn't it? No Joe. I think they're going to keep him in there. I think they're going to keep No Joe or Mojo, however. If he can actually play with some mojo, that'd be great, and not be no Joe. I think they're going to keep him in there, whether we like it or not, unfortunately. Yes, he's been frustrating for sure. He did have a 3-point game finally. It took a month, but yeah, it took a month, but he had a 3-point game recently. Yeah. That's kind of what it's like, isn't it? Nick Foligno, where does he fit? Bottom three, maybe bottom six. I'd say bottom three. Fourth line only. I think he's kind of depth at this point. He's way past his prime, that kind of thing. He's 38. Similar to Jeff Petrie. He's like the Jeff Petrie of the forwards, basically. Or he's like kind of a 7th-ish defenseman, like Petrie. And then Foligno's kind of like a 13th to 12th forward. He's kind of in there in the mix. What goalie rotation do I expect to see in the playoffs? It might be similar to back in 2003. This is probably the closest goalie tandem we've had since then, because clearly both of them have starting goalie material. They do. Obviously, Gustafsson has been a starting goalie, and I do think he starts game one. He's like the Jack Morris, I guess, if you can say that. Jack Morris is going to, start game one or potentially a game 7 kind of thing, most likely, unless Wallstedt is just absolutely ridiculous. But I don't think they're going to be terrified to put Wallstedt out there for a playoff game. I wouldn't be surprised if he's, depending on things go with Gustafsson, if he's just lights out, like ridiculous, Gustafsson stays in for as long as possible. But if he struggles even a little, if he has like a meh game and say game 1 or game 2 in Dallas or in wherever, but in Grand Casino, but probably in Dallas, I think you see Wallstedt. You could see a bit of a back and forth, I think. Maybe 2 games here, 2 games there type of thing, depending on how one of them's playing. And if they're just flat lights out, they stay in. That type of thing. I think they're both the kind of guy you can make a playoff run with if they're hot enough. Jay Bushy, batting cleanup here like Ken Herbeck. Resting players or pushing for home ice, which is more important? Oh, boy. Definitely resting players, I'd say. Home ice, I would love to have home ice versus Dallas, because I think Dallas is an intimidating place. It really is. Just that obnoxious horn when they score. It makes you angry when you hear that sound. It does. Like my blood just boils. So it would be good to have home ice so you hear less of that. But, yeah. Especially early in the series and potentially very late in the series if this goes 7. Love to have home ice, but I think resting players is a little bit more important. Obviously, it's home ice with like guys out could be futile, as the Borg might say. Is it time for the Derek Prelska lightning round? It is. And here we go. Derek is ready to be Chili Davis and knock him out of the park here. He did lead the Twins with home runs in 91, you know that, right? 29. Anyhow, I like to be nerdy like that. What is the minimum expectation of success for this Minnesota Wild squad, in your opinion? At least second round. Get past the Stars, I think. I mean, that might seem like, really? You think they have to beat the Stars to be successful? Yeah. Why not? I'm sick of losing. And I think the Wild can beat the Stars. Yep, and Morty says it right there. Not an easy task, but beating Dallas in round 1. And F-I-F-Y. Oh, I wish I knew what that meant. I should know what it means. I think I do, but maybe I'm give a quick. He says, fixed it for you. Fixed it for you. That's what that means. Okay. Fixed it for you. Fixed it for you. Oh, okay, I see what happened. Yeah, okay. That's why he did that. He wasn't swearing. At first, I thought it was like for bleep's sake or something. Yeah, nope. It was BTW. Yeah, yep. Because the hashtag is first. Yep, that's why. That's what FIFY means. Fix it for you. Thank you, Derek. Yeah, fixed it for Morty there. We will continue next. Come on, get this out of here. There we go. With the recent additions to Iowa of players like Roman Schmidt and Viking, Gustafsson, Nyberg, are they admitting that their blue line prospect pool have been too saturated with smaller defensemen? I would say so. Yeah, they definitely have some small defensemen down there. And yes, Viking, Gustafsson, Nyberg is a really cool name. Roman Schmidt, yep. Yeah, that's a classic name right there. Yep. I think so, yes. That probably is true, and I don't think it's helped them a whole lot. Skill is nice, but you got to have a combination. You got to have a combination. It takes two wings to fly, kind of like in other parts of the world. It takes two wings to fly. We'll leave that right where that stays. But no, yeah, I think that's really important. Next, do you think home ice matters for the Wild or not, or for most teams in general? It's like so far, like Minnesota Wild have been winless when having home ice in a series. That's what scares me about it. It's just that doggone Dallas horror that drives me nuts for one. And for somehow, the Wild are 0-2 versus Dallas. Both times we did not have home ice. I think it would help versus, of any team, I think it would help versus Dallas versus any other team. Somehow, some way. Like other teams, even Colorado, is annoying. I don't like Denver Nuggets fans or Colorado Avalanche fans. I don't know what it is. I just don't like them at all. They just drive me nuts. But the Wild have won 2 series versus them historically. Now, of course, that was eons and eons ago. This is not the same team, except for like Jared Spurgeon, I think, is the only one left from back then. So, and then the one before. Are you kidding me? Yeah, those guys are in their 50s and stuff. So, come on, get this damn pop-ups. Here we go. It matters versus the Stars, I think, a little more than the other teams, put it that way. In the other series, probably not as much. Like, funny, the Wild have had a pretty good road record this year once again. Next, even if he was willing to come back to a similar sub-$1 million deal, should the Minnesota Wild bring back Marcus Johansson, or is it time to finally utilize someone younger at his spot on the roster? I will go with the latter. It is time to finally utilize someone younger at his spot on the roster. I think so. He had a good year, but then there's the same up and down crap, which is frustrating. 47 points, like you'd think, wow, that's really good, but a lot of those were scored in earlier in the year. It's been a pretty big drought since then. That's the frustration. Like 47 points, you would call that a successful season for a guy making $800K. So, but yeah, it's been the same frustrations again, where he kind of quiets down, I guess. But in some ways, it depends on his postseason too. If he's spectacular in the postseason, I wouldn't be surprised if Bill Guerin does bring him back for another one-year deal. Me, I would like a younger player on the roster, though. General Manager Joey Wyson would like that. General Manager Derek, I'm guessing, would agree. That's my guess. Next, what are your thoughts on the Gophers bringing back most of Bob Moskow's assistant coaches and also adding Matt Cullen as a player development coach? Will that take the program to the next level or not? It is interesting that they bring back most of the coaches. Matt Cullen, I think, is a really cool addition. I always imagined him as St. Cloud State, but then again, so was Brett Larson. So they must have a strong relationship, and I'm sure they do. Brett Larson's been good about respecting players of the past and such, as was Bob Motzkow, to his credit. That was Don Lucia's weakness, I think, in a lot of ways. Lucia obviously was amazing at the beginning, and he got a little bit more stale as the years moved on until the point he got extremely stale and was here way too long, Don Lucia. Boy. It's just, Bob Motzkow did have the final say on a lot of things, like the game plans and such, so, and I got annoyed with a lot of his, I got annoyed with some of his game plans, particularly that final game against Quinnipiac years ago. That, That irked me to no end. And you've heard about it probably a million times from me. Unfortunately, it drives you crazy. But I'll say for now it's okay. I'm hopeful going into things, bringing back most of the coaches. As for Matt Cullen, very excited. I think he's got a lot of knowledge to pass on. A lot of knowledge to pass on to developing players. So doesn't always mean like somebody that was as successful as Matt Cullen could be a good coach, but he looks like a coach, doesn't he? I always thought he does. He looks like he could be really damn good at it, and I'm hoping he is. Hoping so. 2 more. Okay, actually, yeah, it is. Well, it's basically 2 more. Yes. Which players will make up Minnesota Wild's third defensive pair for Game 1 versus the Dallas Stars? Depending on if he's healthy. I think Bogo is going to be out there. Oh, boy. Depending on the health of players going through this the next week, I guess, I'll say Bogo and Middleton. That's kind of where I'm leaning towards. 2 big guys. You want the big size on the back end. Obviously, it's super skilled at the top, and then still skilled, but with but smart intelligence with Brodin and Spurgeon on the second pair. Obviously, again, you have the elite top pairing. We all know who they are, the Olympic guys, Quinn Hughes and Brock Faber. But I'm going to go with Bogo and Middleton. That's kind of where I'm thinking. As long as he's healthy enough and ready to go, Bogo's got a ton of playoff experience. He's had his moments. He's not my favorite player on the team. Petrie's got a ton of experience as well, and I do think he sees action in the postseason. There's no doubt about that. But at the moment, I'll go Bogo and Middleton with the bottom pair. I think there's one last one here. It looks like it's a reply to something. I think, if I ever get up there. I just moved around here a little bit. I really have I wish I had a multi-setup here like other people. Yeah. Just haven't invested in that, unfortunately. Okay, Dominic Stameri says, who's out number 1 tendy? Who's our number 1 goaltender? That's what you're saying? That's what that's got to be. Who gets the keys to the playoffs, or do they rotate? Okay, yeah, that's definitely goaltending. I think it's Gustafsson. I think Gustafsson is going to be the goaltender to start things out. And like I was kind of thinking earlier, is kind of depends on how he goes. It could be like a 2-game thing. It could be a 2-game rotation type of thing. Like if Gustafsson's okay, mediocre-ish, you might see, after 2 games, you might, there's a good chance you're going to see Wally in Game 3. If Gustafsson's terrible in Game 1, you're going to see Wally in Game 2. That type of thing. If Gusty's lights out, you might ride him for a while. That type of thing. That's kind of how I'm going with, but I do think Gusty or whatever you call him, will be your goaltending. He'll be your number 1 tendy in Game 1. I think he's the one to be, I think he's the Jack Morris, so to speak, for the Minnesota Wild going into the playoffs. For those of you wondering who the heck I'm talking about, just in case some of you out there that didn't follow the Minnesota Twins in 1991, he was the horse, the number 1 pitcher, the ace pitcher for the Minnesota Twins during the 1991 playoff run and World Championship for the Minnesota Twins. He's the guy that took the hill, as they say, in like a Game 1 and a Game 7 type of thing. And potentially like a middle game as well. But yeah, because pitchers don't pitch every day. But yeah, I think Gustafsson is that Jack Morris right now. But who knows? Abby Wallstedt is the guy that is the hero and wins it all for us in the end. It just might be. But, I do think they will be willing to put Wallstedt out there because he's shown that he can get the job done. It's not just like, Gustafsson, they don't trust him. No, it's because they have another guy who's extremely good. Just like Manny, they don't trust. No, they had Roley too. Manny and Roley back in 2003. They were, Dwayne Rollinson, by the way. They had a great tandem, and it was fun to watch. It was fun. Yeah, they took us a long way. We'll see what happens this year for sure. Shout out to MNW Young Guns. Really love what you do. MNW Young Guns / MNW Prospects. Minnesota Wild Global also on Facebook. Thank you so much. And of course, the Crease Assist podcast, Derek. Teresa, Kalisha, you do a great job. Brand Steve as well. Amazing job on that show. Highly recommended. Do check it out. And but don't forget about Brave the Wild if that's possible. Listen to both of us, dang it. Don't leave either show out. Listen to both of us. With that said, have yourself a wonderful final week of the regular season, and let's talk about the playoffs next week.